Hello, this is Jennifer McGuire of Hero Arts. In this video, I'm going to show you a fun way to get more from your dies to create a border die cut. And that's what I did for the zigzags along each of these cards. I kept the cards pretty simple just so I could showcase this fun technique. The die I'm using for these is from Hero Arts, and they're called frame cuts. What's unique about these dies is that the cutting edge is right on the inside edge of the die, so it's easy to line up exactly where it's going to cut, especially over a stamped image. Now for this I'm going to do something fun with it. I'm not doing any stamping, but I'm going to take this small die and make it into a longer border. To do this, I'm just going to take my die and line it right up with the edge of my paper, and I'm going to use a piece of the sticky part of a post-it note to hold it in place. You could use masking tape too. So I'm just lining this up on here. I happen to be cutting a note card here so that when I do die cut this I end up with two borders cut. Just save some time. Now I'm going to run this through my die cut machine. Any die cut machine will work. I really like the Sizzix machines. And I'm going to sandwich the die and the paper in between the cutting plates with the edge hanging out a little bit, which I'll show you here. So you see my two clear cutting plates, and I'm leaving that little bit of edge of the die hanging out of the die cut plates. Now the reason I'm doing that is so that it doesn't cut all the way there at the edge, so that I can do this die cutting again and make my border longer. So I'm going to run this through and I'll show you here in a moment. When I take this out, you'll see that the die has cut nicely along this whole zigzag except for that edge that was hanging out of the machine. So you'll see here that I have the beginning of a zigzag border. So there we have it there. Now I'm going to run it through again, and you can see I have two cuttings so far. I'm going to run it through again the opposite way so that the other edge is hanging outside of the cutting plates. So I've held it in place, I've lined it up here. You can see that edge is hanging out right there. Run it through my die cut machine again, and here I end up with a longer zigzag border. So it's just a fun way to get more out of your dies. So if you have a branch die cut or a tree or something, you can make it longer by leaving a little bit of the edge hanging off. And you can see I got two die cuts from the one cut through because I had a double layer here from the note card. So here I'm going to show you again, just the same thing, just to show you again. I'm putting it through the die cut machine with that little bit of edge hanging off. So I'll just run that right through. And this will be part of the border, half of the longer border. When I remove this, you'll see it's cut nicely through except for that one edge where we left it hanging out. So then I'll just take my die, and since these cut right along the inside edge of the die, it's real easy to line up when I need to line up this next half. So you can see I can look right through, see exactly where to position it, and then put my post-it note again. And then run it through, leaving that inside edge of the die hanging off again. So you can really get creative with your dies and get more out of them, making them a better investment. Now these pieces you could stamp on them. Hero Arts has some stamps that go with these. I just decided to leave these plain. These are Hero Arts papers, and just put a simple greeting on it, just for a card that kind of pops. So there we have a die cut border in the green. So I have one here, and then that other piece is cut through also. So there you have it. If you wanted to save time, you could cut the two pieces separately and just glue them together. So there's one version, and this was more of a masculine look with the greens and the blues and the browns. I'm taking some foam adhesive and I'm cutting them really narrow, just cutting them in half so that I can use these little pieces of foam dots behind the zigzag. You could glue this straight down, but I think a little bit of foam adhesive gives it a nice raised look, which gives a little shadow, which is always fun and interesting. So I'm just going to adhere the three strips down and then stamp a greeting below it. Now after I've laid these all out here, I'm just going to cut off the extra that's hanging off the edge. It's quick and easy to do. Now I could see doing a whole note card set of these kind of chevron cards. I'm going to stamp my greeting here along the bottom. I'm going to delete part of it out here because my head got in the way, but there I have my greeting along the bottom, and this would be a great card for a guy. Now using some purples and yellow, I'm going to create another card just sideways, and this would be a great card for a girl. So you can get a masculine or feminine card from the same supplies. You just change up the colors or the design a little bit. Now for a bit of interest, I just decided to use my corner chomper to round the corners of these cards. I thought the rounded corners was a nice contrast to the zigzag that's on the cards. So there you have a feminine and masculine card using the same supplies. Thanks for watching the video, and we'll see you on the blog.